just yours, so anti-fashion, so worthless. Instead I'm dressing down all the same. As if I look like that, I can't express my desire. Rabbi let me explain, but you never see it'll be with il faut déclarer pour le bon, je dis pas la déjà comme un truc à pas de rêver, and I don't believe like friends in our true.
One of the most interesting things about the novel is this really varied and interesting and complex characters and personalities in the book, and they just seem to all rub against each other in the right way to make it very exciting. You've got the Carl Andrews character, who I think you don't mind unashamedly admitting that it is based on Simon Cowell.
Absolutely, yeah.
What do you think Simon Cowell would think of that character?
It'll go one of two ways. I mean, there are bits in there. Yeah, it's. I do take the rise out of him a bit deliberately. It's like when he gets his. You know, he as the novel unfolds, he gets younger looking through regular visits to his wellness therapist.
Yeah, the Botox treatment, etc.
And the point where he gets his eyelashes dyed as well. There is that, but there's also the control. There is that thing. I mean, with respect to Simon Cowell, everyone knows who he is, and he's done that through, you know, being as Theresa May said that she was a bloody difficult woman. I get the impression that in business, Simon Cowell's quite a difficult, or bloody minded, I suppose, and that hopefully is reflected in the evolution of his character, because it is about control. There is some comedy things, you know, sort of dark comedy things about his appearance and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it is unashamedly based on Simon Cowell, but hopefully in quite a sympathetic way.
A little tongue-in-cheek, maybe.
Bit tongue-in-cheek, yeah. But equally, I mean, he's got his needs. He's got his. It's his idea. It's his concept. He wants to make it work, and on top of that, he knows what makes good TV. Arguably, you know, some people love Britain's Got Talent and X Factor and all the rest of it. Some don't.
And there's no doubt the success of his shows, and it sort of makes you wonder: had creating a reality show to select an MP, would that have been just as successful? Had it been possible to launch a show like that?
I think because we still, you know, despite you know the issue, the current issue over Theresa May refusing to do TV debates, it's that that format was used in the last election and the one before that, and it's gone on in Scotland as well with the different leaders and what have you. That's controllable because you know, from a TV production point of view, you know what the contestants are going to talk about. If you open up to the public, you run the risk of accidentally enforcing censorship, because if you open it up to everyone, you have to open it up to everyone. And you might get applicants that come in with extreme left-wing or right-wing views. And if you choose not to broadcast those extremes, then you're actually taking a censorship point of view. So that's why it's really difficult. So can that format work with the general public? There are huge risks around it. But should it work? Well, you know, part of the book, on a sort of slightly more complex level, asks the question. I mean, Lily Cubbett, the female protagonist, she suggests that people tend to vote because of the history of their family voting and all the rest of it, and you know, her approach, or her sort of academic view of things, is its own is its own thing.
Looking at Lily's character, because no doubt that Lily is not necessarily the lead character, but she's certainly the most interesting character. And Lily is almost like the kind of, she's like the fulcrum, the centre, because all of the other characters and all of the rest of the story kind of pivot around on her. She's that kind of centrepiece. But incredibly complex character.
She is. I think prior to the start of the storyline of There, My Dear, Lily was she was in a different place. She was insecure through a number of different things, and I would say she most definitely had a difficult childhood, and then sort of, if you like, it sounds a bit cliche, but she found herself at university. She'd suffered from physical problems, being significantly overweight, and she felt isolated. And then in There, My Dear itself, she's lost a load of weight. She's a beautiful woman. She's very, very intelligent, and she has an absolute need for being in control of herself and those around her. And I don't want to give too much away, but there's a relationship that evolves involving Lily during the unrolling of the plot. And I tried to get this across quite subtly in the book, but she sees sort of not physical affection, but emotional affection almost as a weakness. And it sort of touches on an element of sort of mental health, because with her falling for somebody else, it's as if she's losing control. And
so Lily's background, she had there were early confidence or mental health issues that affected Lily's younger life, that influences her behaviour.
It does, yeah, because she found herself, prior to the start of the book, she found herself unpopular and sort of ignored and a bit sort of in the background of everything. And that was, it was a sort of self-feeding thing. And although this isn't explicit in the novel, she would, her comfort was in eating. And then she starts university. She's got limited financial resources, starts to lose weight, and then as was that whole thing, she becomes she feels less isolated, and she's absolutely beautiful, and she gets attention that she can turn on or turn off from people around her. And then that's a big thing actually with Lily. She can decide to really manipulate the situation with men and women alike by using her charm, using her attractiveness all round, because it isn't just her physical beauty, it's the fact that she can make people feel engaged, she can make people feel wanted, and then she can turn them on and turn them off as she wants.
So and manipulation and control,
absolutely,
again, in her character.
Absolutely.
Mental health, it's an interesting topic, and I guess as an author, it's got to be handled quite carefully. It can be a sensitive subject. What made you decide to sort of have that element, that mental health sort of element within her character?
What I certainly didn't want is, it's very, very easy in the world of fiction to have things that are perfect. You've got, you can have a hero or a heroine who is absolutely perfect in every way.
And life isn't like that.
Absolutely, and it isn't like that. In some action novels, the hero always wins the fight. He might get a broken nose or a cut brow or something, but he always wins the fight, and it becomes a bit predictable, I think. But when you've got somebody who suffers the normalities of life, because we all have good days, we'll have bad days. So Lily ideally comes across as being yeah, she's super intelligent and she's a very beautiful young woman, but she has those chinks. Do you know what I mean? She has those flaws, and I think we all do. And if, from a reader's point of view, hopefully they're going to connect with recognising when Lily's feeling super confident and then when she's starting to doubt herself, because that is the big thing with her character. When she starts to doubt herself, she can unravel. And there are two particular things that happen in the novel. That's when she meets the former Prime Minister, and there's a whole scenario around there where she's made to, she gets manipulated by the master manipulator of Harold Connor, the former Prime Minister. And that's when there's a bit of a dawning there, a bit of a realisation that she isn't maybe as in control as she thinks she is. Oh. And the second thing is her relationship with somebody else in the novel, whereby she can't help herself feeling emotional about someone. And so these are two scenarios that really challenge her.
And because it's interesting, what I found in the book is it is all about manipulation and control. But what I seem to feel is that almost all of the characters, Kyle Andrews, Lily, Harold, to a certain extent, didn't have as much control as they probably felt they did. You know, although they were driven by manipulation and control, I think the book makes you realise that no one's quite got as much control as they either want or believe they have.
You mentioned Harold there, yes. He exerts a lot of power and control, but he's the retired former Prime Minister. When he was in power, he couldn't say or do all of the things that he wanted to do because, again, the massive suggestion in the book is that there's an alternative power behind government, yeah, and so he has gone from being the man with the decision-making authority as Prime Minister, but not really having that power, to now being retired and he can manipulate and do anything that he wants. So he's had a transition. Lily, again, she goes the other way really. She goes from being super manipulative and super in control to two events that make that unravel. And with Kyle Andrews, he almost pays the ultimate price by not being in control.
And in fact, interestingly enough, there's only one character for me in the book that seemed to have total control, and it's this kind of mysterious figure that and the implication in the book is that the people in highest office, the Prime Minister, his ministers, are really not actually the ones that are in power and control. And again, there has been, and we probably can't talk about it too much, but there has been some suggestion again that maybe that touches on something that's a little close to the truth too.
Yeah, again.
Are we allowed to say the name of the character?
Well, I refer to him as the man with unnatural presence.
So he doesn't have a name. No. He's just this kind of ominous figure.
And that relates, it's that person knows more about the status of the country, the security of the country, and what have you, and gives information to the Prime Minister that no other person is likely to know. And bearing in mind that the novel is based on a coalition government, so you've got the Prime Minister of one party with the Deputy Prime Minister from a different party, and both of them get briefed by this man with unnatural presence. And it's interesting to see, hopefully it's going to be interesting for the readers to see the impact that having the knowledge of what's really going on, the impact that knowledge has on both the Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister, because it just does prove, well not prove, in the book it proves that those in high office aren't really the ones in control. So, a bit scary.
Surely that can't be how the government really is? Or
It's difficult to say. I've always been of this opinion that especially
there has been some interesting speculation about that.
Absolutely.
And again, part of the feather ruffling has been, that's one of the elements within the story that may be striking a little close to home.
Yeah, it might well be that. I've always felt that if you're the leader of a party in opposition, you can write a manifesto that says I'm going to do this, 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 and this. And then if you get voted in on the premise of those promises and then you don't deliver on them, why? Why don't you deliver? Possibly because there are other people who know more about the situation than you do and say, well, you can't do that because of that, and you can't do that because of that. And it's a bit of a conspiracy theory, but it's I do think that there's a lot of stuff that goes on that we, as normal people in the street, will never know about, and I think that's by design.
If I look like that, I cannot split my desire.